For now, a topic that affects a lot of people in their jobs in life, imposter syndrome. Feeling like you don't deserve to be where you are in life, that you're an imposter. Well, how do you stop it? How do you stop it from holding you back? Joining me on the line from London, England, is Dr. Jessamy Hibbard. Jessamy Hibbard, clinical psychologist and author of The Imposter Cure. Dr. Jessamy, good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for having me on the show.
Yeah, it's a real pleasure. So how do you define imposter syndrome?
Well, it was originally defined by two clinical psychologists called Dr. Clance and Dr. Immis in 1978, and they defined it pretty much as you said, where you don't believe you're worthy of success and having a persistent belief in your lack of ability, skills or competence, despite loads of evidence to the contrary.
Does imposter syndrome affect all ages, men and women equally, or is there a particular group of people that is more likely to feel like an imposter?
It doesn't discriminate. It can harm people from all walks of life, so men and women across different cultures, CEOs to students, and also in friendships or relationships and as confidence as parents. But in terms of the gender split, it does tend to affect women more. So last year they did a study and they found that about 2/3 of women had experienced it in the last year compared to 50% of men. Mm-hmm. So whilst it's significant, it's still high for both. And generally they think that about 70% of people have experienced some degree of imposter syndrome. So it is something everyone can relate to. Yeah,
for me, imposter syndrome to me has always been connected to career and jobs and be like, man, how did I get here? How did I do this? But it was interesting what you just said about even relationships. So how does imposter syndrome manifest itself? Is it someone who just believes their spouse, their partner, their girlfriend, boyfriend is too good for them?
Yeah, exactly. Uh-huh. And just kind of publicly, generally feeling like it looks all fine, but under the surface thinking, why are they here? They're going to leave at any minute. If they knew what I was really like, they wouldn't be with me. And it's this idea that if they really knew who you were, whether it's in work or in your relationships, mm-hmm. that really kind of gets under people's skin.
Boy, it seems like a confidence killer to me, but sort of chicken or the egg kind of question. What comes first? Do you lose confidence and then you have imposter syndrome? Or do you have imposter syndrome and then you lose your confidence?
I think it's like the chicken and the egg. Mm-hmm. You're not quite sure. But for some people, it's down to family environment, so it starts really young. And for people like that, it can often stem from a fear of not feeling good enough. But it can also be linked to perfectionism. It's linked to low self-esteem. And it can be as a result of not feeling like the core group. So if you're a woman at the top and there are no other women, then you feel like you're different from everybody. And that lacking that sense of belonging can have an impact too.
Speaking with clinical psychologist Dr. Jessamy Hibbard, she's the author of The Imposter Cure. Let's get to that cure, Dr. Jessamy. What is the cure for imposter syndrome?
So I think a big thing is starting to recognize that voice and actually externalizing it. So rather than just listening to everything it says when it says you're a fraud or you're not good enough or you're not doing well enough, to realize that's the imposter voice speaking, not your own. And thoughts aren't facts. And instead of going on a feeling, it's starting to really pay attention to the evidence instead. And one way I get people to look at that when I'm working with them, and also it's something I talk about in the book, is to go back and look at all of their experiences and look at them with fresh eyes, seeing all that they've achieved, whether it's in work, whether it's, in their friendships, and almost doing a CV that they can then look back on so you see it there in black and white, and actively wanting to change your view so that you see things differently.
So it comes down a lot to celebrating what you accomplish. Like say, yeah, I did this. Let's celebrate.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. And because imposters are constantly putting themselves down and they don't believe that they're worthy of success, they're not doing those things. So they're not connected to the things they do. They don't have a chance to talk about it. There's often a brief moment of relief when things work out okay, but instead of seeing what that means, they're quickly worrying about the next thing and almost thinking then they've got further to fall. So like you say, it's really kind of celebrating those accomplishments. And I think it's also seeing that it's human to feel insecure. Everybody feels self-doubt at times. And we forget that we can't hear what's going on in other people's heads. So they look all right from the outside, and you wrongly presume that they are all right and you're the only one worrying about these things. But as those statistics show, you're definitely not alone with this. It's a really common experience.
And one of the things that I find interesting, and I think a lot of people do, is they make an excuse for their success. So something, they accomplish something, they get a promotion, this happens to them, they end up somewhere, and in their heads or to other people, they're like, oh yeah, well, it only happened because so-and-so quit, or it only happened because so-and-so, left the company or whatever. So you come up with an excuse that isn't based on how good you are, it's based on some other factor.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So imposters externalize success. So they put it down to all those reasons you've just said, whereas anything that they're unhappy with is seen as a personal failing. And I think that that's a big part of it too. You know, when you start to talk more about it to other people, you see other people feel the same way. But also you start to realize that, yes, sometimes a bit of luck's involved. Sometimes you've got a contact who introduces you. But that's just a small part of the story. Lots of people have those opportunities and don't make anything of it. It's what you turn that into that really counts. And you've got to count that to feel differently about yourself.
Doctor, we're out of time, but one last tidbit of advice for our listeners when they look in the mirror.
I think the last thing is don't fear failure and see that that's part of life, and don't let that stop you stepping out of your comfort zone. The more you try new things, the more you see that this is just the voice of your fears, not the reality of what's going on in your life.
Clinical psychologist Dr. Jessamy Hibbard and the author of The Imposter Cure. Thanks so much for taking the time from London, England this morning.
Thanks very much for having me.